This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
It's great to talk with Nate Olson, no matter what it is you're talking about, but especially when you're talking high school football, because he is the man with the sport. Covers it for Scorebook Live. He's been doing it for decades across the state of Arkansas, and he'll be on our airwaves at 10 o'clock tonight with the high school football scoreboard show along with Rex Nelson. Good afternoon, Nate, and happy football season. How are you?
Oh, yeah, great day. And I know Matt can appreciate this. He probably still remembers high school. It's exciting. Yeah, this is exciting for everybody, the players and the fans and us that cover it. It's a great time of year, and we're ready for it. We're excited for today.
We had a couple of games yesterday. Hazen shuts out Lee. Van Buren takes down Alma.
What was that? Van Buren beat Alma.
51-28. You want to let Coach Drinkwitz know about this?
Coach Drinkwitz, where y'all at?
The Battle of the Dome. I like that series name. That's a good one. And Bryce Perkins, he's a really good quarterback. We've talked about him before. Threw several touchdowns last night. And Malachi Henry has gone on to UCA, the coach's son, but found some other targets to throw to. So good night for him.
We had a little disagreement with Coach Drinkwitz. He was on with Matt. I wasn't on the show that day at SEC Media Days, and he was convinced that he played for Alma when they beat Van Buren with Matt Jones on the team, and Matt's like, no, that never happened. He had transferred by the time Alma actually beat Van Buren. So, yeah, a little bit of a disappointment there with the coach.
But you're right, Nate. We all do remember those high school days. He was throwing out some names, some Clark Moore, some Heath Kings, some Matt Deffenbaugh, some old high school teammates that you have. Who are some of the favorites to win some of these state titles this year? Well,
you start with Bryant, and that's kind of been a broken record, but we had kind of a tumultuous offseason, guys. It was I'm ready to go on vacation after Memorial Day, and I was on the clock, on vacation writing about Buck James going to Conway. Never thought that would happen, but Quad Sanders has righted that ship, I think. And everybody you talk to, it sounds like it's Bryant as usual. They are deep at every position, it looks like, and we'll help them tomorrow night in the Salt Bowl when it's 115 degrees and Benton doesn't have as many subs. So it's really going to help them. That's going to help them every week. I mean, there isn't even a 7-8 team that's as close to as deep as them. So, we've got them penciled in. They're ranked number one. I think until they lose to an Arkansas team, you've got to consider them the favorite. In 6A, Greenwood was in the championship game last year against PA. They lost. But feel really good about their chances. They are loaded at receiver. We've talked all about Kane Archer. He'll start tonight against Stillwater, Oklahoma. The top, I think he's still the top ranked recruit in his class in 26th, and looking forward to seeing what he can do. But a lot of talent around him. His brother Cash is the linebacker. He's a Division I recruit. Several good defensive players there. So there'll be some good competition in the 6A. PA will be there. Little Rock Christian looked out of sight against Benton last week in a scrimmage game. I take those with a grain of salt a lot of times. I think some of the coaches do too. Actually, they don't game plan like they would a real game and things like that, and try to get a lot of kids in. But Little Rock Christian looked really, really sharp, and Walker White, the best quarterback I think in the state. People can agree with that. Going to Auburn, very, very good player, and he looked the part too. So that's 6A. And Parkview, won their first championships in '78. They are loaded again. A lot of talent. Think they can win it again. Shiloh Christian with a new coach, Tucker Barnard, coming over from Stillwater, Oklahoma. He'd been at Shiloh as an assistant. Think they'll still be in the mix. And Robinson, Pine Bluff, with Courtney Crutchfield. You can read about him. And his cousin Charlie Collins on SB Live. Both of those teams could make a run too. So that's some of the bigger classes. And there's a lot of good teams and good talent again in Arkansas this year.
There's one game that our listening audience will be incredibly interested in, and that's the Battle of Fort Smith. North Side versus South Side. Is this going to be a good game?
I think it will be a good game. Kyle Sutherland, our main contributor, really, really good. He has Southside in the top 20, and I was a little bit surprised by that. 16 returning starters. Toby Branham, the offensive lineman, going to Arkansas. Kim Dameron is a guy that coached in college for years. He's come back to the state, and I think he feels good about this team. I think when you're looking at dark horses and surprises, the West is a little bit open to me. I think it's, Benville West lost their quarterback, and they had been a team that was kind of fighting in there. Harbor's a little bit down. They've got a new coach. There could be, a spot in there for like an up-and-comer to get in that third or fourth spot. And, that could be Southside, depending on how things go. But, I think that this will be a close game. Northside's owned this series for a while, but they do not have. I would say they probably have more talent, and they've got some good players on the roster, but they're not as experienced. They don't have as many starters returning. So, I think I'd still go with Northside tonight. I think Southside is going to be playing their best football later in the year. But would not be surprised if Coach Dameron and company pulled this off. I think it's interesting, too, and I don't know if Matt knows this guy, but McLean Moody, 6'6", 185, is the starting quarterback at Northside. I remember a guy that was about 6'6", 185 that played quarterback at Northside a few years ago.
Yeah, I'd heard about him. I hope he, I'm pulling for him. I hope he does well. And that being said, I was going to ask you, where are some of the recruits? Like, are there some commits to Arkansas? Where are they playing this weekend?
Well, you've got, in Pine Bluff, you've got Courtney Crutchfield that is, at Pine Bluff, and they're playing in Grenada, Mississippi. They would be favored in that game, and if you read the story, I thought it was, a good story about him and Collins, how they are, cousins and grew up together, and that, that kind of thing coming out of Pine Bluff. So he's the number one recruit. Omarion Robinson is the number one recruit in the junior class. He's at Parkview. If you're in Northwest Arkansas tonight and don't have anything to do, I hope if you're a Harbor fan, you'll be at the game cheering them on. But if you're just in Northwest Arkansas, just, not much to do, and your wife doesn't have you going out to dinner or something, you should go to Harbor and watch Parkview. They're loaded with talent, and Marion Robinson has narrowed his list down to 10. Arkansas is on it. A big-time safety. Really, really good player. Going to have a chance to go somewhere very, very good, and I think his stock's only going to rise. So you want to check him out. Kane Archer, Greenwood. I mean, he's a guy that Arkansas has offered, and we've talked all about him. Really, really good quarterback. I'm interested to see. I mean, he's been wanting to be the starter since last year, and now he is. There's nobody, going to take that job from him, and it's his. And it'll be interesting to see how, he does tonight against Stillwater, which is one of the top teams in Oklahoma, but they've lost their coach and they've lost Mike Gundy's son that was their quarterback. So maybe a little bit in rebuilding mode, and Greenwood can get that win tonight.
Nate Olson from Scorebook Live in the high school football scoreboard show with us here each Friday now on halftime for the remainder of the high school football season. Nate, I don't know if you saw about Tay Lockett, who just committed to Arkansas, first commit for the 26 class from Bellflower, California. They expect him to be 4 or 5 star prospect by the time he's rated for the first time. But he not called out, but he said one of his goals is to convince Kane Archer to sign at Arkansas or commit to Arkansas. I found that really interesting. I mean, here's a kid from all the way in California who's got connections to the state. I mean, his parents and his family are big Razorback fans, but every commit says they're going to do what they can to go get a great class, but he's calling out the guy who's got this reputation of being maybe the number one quarterback in that class too. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, and I saw that, some of the Archer family, I think, had retweeted some of that stuff. I don't know the familiarity with him, but I know that, Kane works out in Southern California and knows some of the guys in that program. So I'm assuming that, they've worked out before together. They know each other. Kane's played all over the country in these national youth football stuff. So I'm sure that if they're not, first name basis, they at least know each other, but they may be good friends. But I think that's good news for Arkansas, fans, because, to get him to come first, that might have been what you might have thought that you needed to get Kane. Then to get him, he's already there, man, and he knows that he's there. If they're close, that could make a big impact on him. But I think he really likes Arkansas a lot. He's got a long time to choose, but I think he does like the Hogs, the close proximity. His dad's very supportive of him and all his family. I mean, I think from just a logistics point of view, they would love it for him to be 45 minutes away. I mean, because they're so supportive of him. They travel the country with him. I mean, I think that would be welcome to them. Of course, they want him to go where he thinks it's going to be the best. But that was an interesting development, and that's going to be something that we'll keep an eye on, the rest of the time. And, like I said, he's got his chance to shine now. We saw glimpses of it last year. He came off the bench, and probably one of the more amazing things I've ever seen, a ninth grader leads them over Northside in this improbable ending with a Hail Mary on an onside kick, and he looked like a high school senior or a college freshman doing that, and he was a ninth grader. So he's going to do some things that we've never seen before, and it's going to start tonight probably, and I know a lot of people in Arkansas are rooting for him to go up the hill and play there and, combine with the guy from California.
Nate, when I think Arkansas high school football, I think running backs, going back to Madre Hill, Kaneko Logan, Cedric Cobbs, Peyton Hillis, Darren McFadden. I mean, the list goes on and on. So many great high school running backs. Give me 3 or 4 high school running backs that you should go out and check out this year.
Well, I think that, James Martin at Bryant is a really good one. They've actually got like seven running backs that are, really, really good. And I mean, that's the thing that's crazy about them is that, they have 7 guys. There's like 4 guys that, could probably start anywhere. And then, another 3 that would play, other places too. So that's really incredible. They're really loaded there. And, we've got, there's a small school guy that played last night, Braylon Anderson at Hazen. He is really good. Ronnie Inoki from Little Rock Christian, some Shiloh people will see him next week. He was a junior or sophomore last year, kind of burst on the scene. Very, very good player for them. There's some good guys around the state. Deshaun Cherish from Elkin. I think he's one of the more underrated guys. He's small, but in that offense, they've got Slade Dean, the quarterback. That's a good 1-2 punch with those guys together. And so, and then probably the guy that there's not a lot of major Division I guys, but Jalen Dupree from Malvern. That's close to the Hot Springs area in the listing area. He ran for 2,000 yards last year. He's committed to Colorado State. He's a 3-star. I kind of feel like he's a little bit underrated by the recruiting experts because, if he's not a major Division I running back, I mean, maybe he steps slow. I mean, they get picky about stuff, but he looked really good. And the guy named Dennis Gaines, East Poinsett County, way over there in the northeast part of the state,
EPC. Yeah, the month.
Yeah. They produce so many good athletes. It's incredible. But he was in the top 5 of the nation in rushing last year. A small school guy, 3,300 yards and 44 touchdowns. That's at the AA level, so people are going to, probably scoff at it a little bit. But I told somebody today, it doesn't matter if you're an 8-man, a 2A, 7A. If you're doing something outlandish like 3,000 yards, something like that, you've done something right. And another guy right down the road in the River Valley, Dax Goff. Kansas State looked at him. He's from Booneville, and I've heard, they've looked at him at linebacker, and they haven't quite pulled the trigger. He's committed to Harding University, which if he goes there, I think they're getting steal. I told somebody today, I feel like Arkansas State, Memphis, Tulsa, maybe a bottom-tier Big 12 team is missing out on this guy. 6'1", 220, probably a 4.6 40, I'm guessing. I don't know that for sure, but he can move for a big guy. Linebacker, running back, and that run-oriented offense, really, really good for them. So, but yeah, not as there's not a McFadden or a guy like that really, but there's some guys that are really good that are getting recruited, and I mentioned the guys that at Bryant, and there's several of those guys that are really good high school running backs, and some of them that will get recruited. And Daniel Anderson's the guy, I didn't mention this earlier, just came into my mind. He's been offered by Notre Dame and Mississippi State and barely touched the ball last year. And he'll be
Nate. It's all, yeah, man. I know you're fired up about it. We are too. And with the game starting a little bit later today, 10 o'clock is the start time for the high school football scoreboard show.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.